Greetings, citizens, and thanks for joining us here again at Smash and Crash for our quick look at the RSI Constellation Andromeda variant. The Constellations are big ships, the Andromeda being the biggest of the bunch. This is the only one that's currently flyable. There are going to be several more variants on the way. Let's start with a look around the outside of this thing, as well as how to get into it, because that's pretty important too, and it's not entirely obvious, and then we'll take a look around the actual inside of the ship. Like a remora with a Gatling gun, the P-52 Merlin is attached to the bottom of each Andromeda. It is great for defending this monster ship. Super dramatic giant elevator entrance, anyone? Let's just jump right into the main event, the bridge and the turrets up front. With two man turrets, each one sporting two CF-337 lasers, as well as four pilot-controlled M5A laser cannons, a plethora of missiles, and that wonderful P-52 Merlin in the back that you can just jump in and go take people out with, this is not the ship to be messed with unless you are prepared for a fight. Let's go take a quick peek at the lower turret here. Let's go have a look at the front of the cockpit, where it's clear it's designed for a three-man crew, and it really feels like an exploration vehicle up here.
Welcome to Rocket Space Industries. Enjoy the ride. System check.
The Andromeda has a very detailed HUD, and each one is designed for the specific function of that seat. This one is the main captain's chair, and as you can see, there's a lot of functionality built into it. There are a number of things on this ship that look very utilitarian, these screens being one of them. I like the way that they pop up out of the armrest, they're not wasting a whole lot of space, and it's still very focused on having a great view outside. It's high time we took a look at the rest of this beast. Welcome to the cargo hold / loading bay. This is actually where your ATV would drop out of as well if you happen to have one. I do not have one in here, and I don't believe it's ready in the universe just yet. This is where the power plant and the gravity generator lives, as well as that wonderful Merlin fighter. From back here, you have access to the top of the Merlin. All you have to do is pop open the cockpit and hop in. Now, at this time, you can't actually launch or reconnect back to the Constellation with the Merlin, but that is coming in the future. All you'd have to do is launch this thing out, and you've got your own fighter to help fend off enemies that are a little more agile than your Constellation. Back out here in the cargo bay, we actually have a couple of airlocks, which I'm sure will come in handy later for either docking or just being able to get out without having to use the giant elevator. Here's a nice view of the entire room as well as the loading bay doors. Welcome to the crew quarters. It only sleeps 4, but it also has a nice little lounge area here. It's a really good setup for, those really long expeditions that you'll be going on if you're doing the exploration with the Constellation. There's still a number of pieces in here that aren't completely functional. Back to the bridge for a quick look at the forward shield generator, and then we're going to hit the road. The Constellation is great for things like exploration, where you don't need a lot of speed because the Constellation doesn't have a lot of speed to give. But hey, slow and steady wins the race, right?
Shields max.
We're going to go ahead and test the stamina on those 4 M5A cannons, as well as check out some of the combat antics of this thing, though it is not always pretty.
Target acquired. Target acquired. Radar contact. Target acquired.
The massive payload of missiles this thing comes equipped with will keep you firing for a good long time and keep your enemies on the run.
Radar contact. Target acquired. Shield damaged. Stand by. Target acquired. Rear shield is down. Stand by. Forward shield. Starboard shield trapped. Target acquired. Target acquired.
With such a sluggish ship, it's hard to tell if I tried to ram them or if I just couldn't get out of the way. These 4 M5As have been going for a couple of minutes now, and well over 60 shots. You can see that it's just bouncing between like 1 and 4% when it comes to the heat. There's something clearly amiss here. Either the coolers are doing an amazing job, because they do overheat on other ships, or this is a bug in 2.3 that hopefully will get worked out soon. That being said, let's go through this super quick here and get back to a little bit of combat. And here's where I give up on trying to overheat the guns, and we get back to the fighting.
Missile lock.
You may have noticed that I'm not currently in one of the constellations. That's because I'd like to show you how tough these things really can be. I'm currently in a Saber, firing a whole buttload of Rattler missiles at these things.
Contact.
With minimal structural damage, those first 2 shots really didn't do a whole lot to the Constellation. It protected the people inside successfully, damaged a couple of engines, and brought down the shields. Now this second salvo seems to have gone a little bit awry. A couple of the missiles went off to the side. We have no idea what happened. It actually finished taking out the engine, so there was no longer a heat signature for them to lock onto, so they went their own way. Always remember, when trying to land your Constellation at one of the service stations, always go for the bottom platform. It'll let you try to land at one of the upper platforms, but it'll just end up slamming you into the wall with autopilot or not letting you land properly if you try and do it manually.
We're stocked for all your repairs. Stand by.
Well, citizens, it's about that time. Thank you very much for joining me here today for the quick look at the RSI Constellation Andromeda. If you like what you saw, feel free to check out the other videos and please subscribe. We will see you in the verse. Ah, dang it.